Hello, Leo. Hello, Leo. Okay. How's everybody doing? Empress in reverse. Are you guys feeling irritable? Is that just me? Is that just my Leo rising? Because justice. Yeah, maybe you feel kind of slighted, or like somebody was dishonest, deceitful. These are synonymous, but yeah, maybe somebody, and this could be a repeating cycle, right, of a particular person, place, idea. It could just be the same energy in different vessels or forms, but it feels like there is some sort of repeat of deceit, right? Like you're coming to the end of deception, whether that be self-deception, all right, which like attracts like. So if you're attracting deceitful entities, then there's something that you are needing to acknowledge, confront within, which is not necessarily Leo's strongest suit, right? So yeah, there could be some, we got the Lovers and the High Priestess kind of tumbled out. So it could be a High Priestess in reverse, like you could be sort of in a whirlwind of between your own intuition and your ego, right? And trying to decide, but this is something you're gonna have to feel your way through. And so maybe you're trying to intellectualize something that you're just gonna have to go with your gut on this choice or this move. We have the Six of Cups and the Lovers, right? So this is love, soulmate energy. But with this Lovers here, see the snake biting his ankle, the masculine's ankle? So the masculine in this situation could be still kind of, yeah, Six of Swords and then Knight of Wands in reverse. The masculine could be struggling to move on. We have the Six of Cups again, to clarify the Six of Cups. The Empress, to clarify the Lovers, and the King of Cups, to clarify the High Priestess in reverse. So you could be dealing with a Pisces, right? Cancer or Pisces. With the High Priestess, the masculine could be a water sign. You could be a water sign. I do feel like there's some cross-watching energy here. Perhaps on the Empress's, right? On the feminine part, because you could be waiting for a Leo to make a move, and they're not making a move. They're not moving on. There's still some attachment to the past. There's still some attachment to some sort of behavior or thought process that, and this could be a past connection. All divine unions are twin flame connections, but not all twin flame connections are divine unions, right? Because the twin flame connection is very back and forth. There is a runner and a chaser. There is a need to go your separate ways, to grow independently, to do that Six of Cups energy, right? Which is self-love, right? Love starts within, because it's unconditional. So you have to love yourself unconditionally. You have to go within, go into that hermit, that Virgo energy, go into that mutable energy. And that could be why the High Priestess is sort of was tumbling, because you could be trying to look at things in a different perspective, and it's like you're looking at things like you're on a spinning wheel, right? You're waiting on the wheel of fortune, you're waiting for the big payout, you're waiting for this to come in, and you're sort of spinning, and it's like in a movie where it does that. I'm trying to think of the movie that I'm envisioning here, but there's someone on like a wheel, and they are like in maybe it's like The Prestige or The Illusionist or something with like a magician. You could be dealing with a magician. You could be, which is Gemini and Virgo, mercurial energy, right? This is the throat chakra, right? Which is Taurus as well, right? So you could be dealing with and that High Priestess is the feminine aspect of the High Priest, which is the Hierophant, which is also Taurus energy, which is about 3D connections as well. It's about, marriage commitment, traditions, right? So people can be stuck in a tradition, an old way of thinking. And so the High Priestess, when connected to the Hanged Man, can be sort of a need to tap into the third eye, a need to tap into looking at things not here necessarily, but through here, and tapping into your intuition, going with your gut, going with what you feel. And Virgo is ruled by, anatomically, with the gut and the digestive system, right? So like the solar plexus, which is also connected with Leo. Solar plexus in the heart chakra that fuels each other, right? Your breath work and your digestion could be off, right? You could feel a lot of anxiety and restlessness because of the things that you're eating or ingesting, literally. But breath is all about what we ingest or what we take in, information that we take in through our breath. So yeah, there could just be a number of things when you're on this sort of spinning wheel. It's like a true POV. Like you're trying to look at it from their perspective. You're trying to look at it from all the perspectives involved. There could be family involved. There could be maybe that attachment is children, right? Maybe there's some sort of it's not necessarily an attachment, like this person doesn't feel like they're emotionally unavailable. It's maybe that there is just something in the 3D world that is actually tethering them to another situation. Like they're always going to have to talk to their ex because they have a child with them, or maybe they have a sick parent, or something like that, where they're always going to be sort of tethered to other people. So it's like third party, but not romantic involvements. And so it feels like the feminine aspect of this priest energy is trying to look at things from a different perspective. They're sort of tumbling about, and if that's you, you might not be sure if this is something that you're kind of cut out for. But I am getting the Six of Cups. To clarify the Six of Cups, this is very much soulmate energy. It feels like a past life energy, where, it feels like maybe you guys have just done this for so many lifetimes that it's kind of unavoidable, and that is the twin flame journey, that you will interact, but maybe not every twin flame connection comes together in this lifetime or in the 3D. And with the High Priestess being connected to the High Priest, or the Hierophant, which is the masculine, even though Taurus is a feminine sign because it's fixed earth, it's double earth, right? A fellow fixed sign, which you have that feminine earth quality to substantiate or supplement your fire element of your star sign if you're a Leo sun sign. But it kind of feels like if the High Priestess energy, that tumbling sort of like indecisive energy, is the masculine, is actually the masculine. They could be in their feminine energy where they're not making that move because they want, they're used to being pursued, they're used to being, which if you are a feminine watching for a Leo, if you're cross watching for a Leo, Leos typically like to be pursued, because the sun is the center of the solar system, and so and they have an attractive quality. Leos have that attractive quality, and so they can be very reliant or used to being pursued, being the center of the attention, in every scenario. So maybe because the Empress does not settle for anyone but an emperor, this could be a pre-emperor that we're dealing with here, that is like a step away, and more to clarify, but they could be a step away from, maybe they're just missing the King of Cups, right? Because we have the King of Cups here, and hopefully they're not just a King of Cups and they're missing the other three, because it takes three to be pre-Emperor, Empress, and the Emperor and the Empress are the combination of all four elemental queens or kings. There's the full wanting to peek out here. Let's see. Okay, this is a lot. A lot of swords. Do you hear that? I feel so irritable. I feel like my ankle just popped. I have this different setup here. So everything, I'm sitting on the ground, and I have to close the windows because the neighbors are out and the dogs will be barking because they're doing yard work or whatever. And it's 90 something degrees in the house right now. And I can't have the big fan on right now because it's too loud. So I have a little fan here. So that's my personal thing. But yeah, it's like, as a Leo, what that translates to me energetically, I'm a Leo rising, so I do feel that kind of like hot, that heat in the, like, wanting passions to be pursued, wanting things to come together, and maybe things have come easily to you or your person, and so it's sort of because they have a certain quality about them that's very attractive. Pisces has that very attractive romantic quality, so people just sort of gravitate towards those individuals. Maybe you have Pisces in your chart, and so maybe because this takes a little bit more decisive work, because divine unions it's a pair of cycle breakers. Okay, the twin flame journey is usually one of the individuals has recognized themselves as a cycle breaker. It's typically the feminine. The feminine has to make that tough decision of withdrawing and allowing the masculine to go off and find. And this can be male, female, and it's not always the feminine that's more aligned, but it is typically the feminine energy that's more tapped into the 5D, that recognizes what's going on here and recognizes that the pair is a twin flame union or soulmates, or there is a connection there. They feel it first, right? And they have to, and it takes a very Queen of Swords difficult energy, and like it's a very troubling energy for a feminine, because it's a more masculine energy to come into your swords energy, which is a masculine element, to come into that and say, not today. We'll try again. And who sings that? Is that Erykah Badu or Macy Gray, who sings Maybe Next Lifetime? And there is that sort of decision of, well, maybe next lifetime, maybe I'll just be with somebody who's compatible with me now in the 3D. So you could be going through that, right? Deciding, do I want to, and if you're in that space of holding out for, you can hold space for, as the feminine, you can hold space for the masculine to come and pursue you. But if you're, Page of Swordsing them, if you're watching them, if you're like lurking or creeping, or if you're thinking about them constantly, now they might creep into your mind because they're thinking about you as well, because you guys are connected. So you might be doing your darndest to not think about them constantly, and then they'll pop up and you're like, what does this mean? Is it over? What does this mean? So yeah, there could be a lot of turmoil in your breath, your heart chakra, your space it's sort of blocking your inspiration. It's blocking your ability, your perceived ability to move forward in your own path, because it's like you're waiting, and you can't wait for your person, right? Because in that case, you're still enabling them to stay where they are. So it's like you have to keep walking up ahead, and then they're like, oh, wait, I do want to catch. So then they have to catch up, right? They have to like put in the work to get out of their comfort zone and to actually come after you. And that's that runner chaser thing, which I don't like, that whole Hollywood representation of it, because it's bogus, and it glorifies people getting into trauma bonds, and that's not what a divine union is. Not that, and that's the big kind of ultimatum and sort of conundrum of the twin flame journey, is that you're cycle breakers, so you're coming from places of you're children of chaos, and you're usually coming from places of trauma, and so this person is very familiar to you because they're from past lives, because they're actually on your path and have been on your path for eons, lifetimes, right? However you view time and past lives, they've always kind of been there energetically. And even if you don't have this person identified in the 3D, in the physical, you have felt them in the 5D, right? And you know that they're there. So that struggle is still real, right? It's still, and when people are not tapped into their 5D, their intuition, they'll mistake the feelings of turmoil as, mental disorders, or, they did brain scan comparisons of those who were claimed mediums and those who were diagnosed schizophrenics, and the brain imaging was comparable. It was almost mirrored. So it's like you may have felt crazy for feeling this way, for feeling this energy, for having this belief, for maybe your dreams are very active, and you really want to come into union with your person, whether you know who they are in the physical or not, but you almost feel like, should I stay or should I go? Because you feel like you're on the precipice of doing something that's just for you, that's like just on your path. It feels like it's just for you, and maybe it feels a little bit selfish, and maybe it feels like if I make this move, I'm dooming myself to a life of solitude, right? Which the divine path and cycle breaker path is quite solitary until it's not. But making this move for yourself, whatever this move is, whether it's moving jobs, literally moving, if it is leaving a partnership, right? If you're watching tarot and you're in a partnership, there's your first clue that whatever you're in is not working, right? Because if you have to ask other people or like look for other people to give you the signs to confirm what you already know. Like you're looking for the signs, and that's all tarot does. It just confirms what you already know. So if you're looking for that outside of yourself, and you're relying on that to make a decision, that's your decision. If you have to make a pros and cons list, that's the con. That's the ultimate con, right? You don't, that's not a healthy dynamic for either of you, right? So even if you are twin flames, then it's maybe next lifetime. And if you view lifetimes as being every 10 years or, you know, every birth and death cycle in this terrestrial reality, however you view that, right? Maybe every time that you have a tower moment or a sort of death and rebirth energetically, maybe that's a lifetime for you, however you view that. But I feel like you are deciding to, we got the Queen of Swords and Judgment. I feel like you are on the precipice of making a move for yourself, and you feel like if you make this move, it's going to eliminate your person from your future. And that's quite the opposite. If they are truly your person, this move is the only move. This move forward, right? I mean, the divine path is forward. It's always moving forward. Slow and steady, right? If you go back, it's like you're just checking in on things paths that you've already crossed, right? And so you're just, it's like you already know that was a dead end. You already know that was not the way forward. So your person may they're gonna have to pave their own path. They're gonna have to machete their way toward the sun, which is where we're all headed, which is Leo. And that takes a great deal of strength, but you're paving a new path. So we're all macheting our way through this divine forest, right? And there are offshoots, and there are temptations, and there are moments of retrograde, and we've got a bunch of shit going on in the cosmos right now. And we have been, we've had Saturn, we're in Mercury retrograde. So communication, that throat chakra, that sort of magician and ability to manifest feels very stunted and blocked, and so there's a need for patience, which could be very much testing those who maybe have had other things come to them more easily. But those things that came to you easily, they obviously didn't work. If we're talking about relationships, or if we're talking about jobs, like you wouldn't be listening to tarot if they worked out for you, right? So what's easy is rarely the thing. Now, that's speaking from the ego, right? Because divine union and the divine path is very simple, right? It's very direct, it's very simple. It's one foot in front of the other. And soon you'll be walking out the door. What is that, the Year Without Santa Claus? Maybe something around Christmas time is important. Maybe July, because there's Christmas in July, which is what I typically, maybe you're a July Leo. The Year Without a Santa Claus. And yeah, this may mean that you're going to be doing something for a year without your person, whether you know them or not. But it's like you're making the decision, that cardinal, that fire energy, you're coming out of that fixed stationary energy of being very disciplined and staying the course, and the comforts of that earth energy, which can, all of the elements and all of the modalities, all of the energies can slip into, all the zodiac signs, everything can slip into a shadow aspect of itself, right? So fixed energy can be very nurturing, it can be very comforting in a way that feels like home, but you can also become, and it's important to come into hermit mode to do that introspection and to do that self-inventory, that mutable energy of that, which is Virgo is an earth energy, so it's like coming into that earth energy, coming into that mutable, analytical, analyzing the self and doing that self inventory. But see how terrified this person is? It's like, you've been doing all the self-care, it feels really good, you got maybe a little love handles there, maybe you got a little too comfortable, right? And see, this fish is dead, which is that Piscean energy, third eye. So it's like, it's, when you're watching a scary movie and you do that, you're like, oh, I don't want to see it, but you're still kind of looking. It's like very half in, half out, waiting for the external visual confirmation before you believe, right? Whereas with manifesting and with the magician energy, you have to believe before you see, right? So believing is seeing, and so there's something with you're having trouble seeing your Wheel of Fortune, seeing your Six of Cups, right? Seeing your lovers, your divine counterpart. But you continue down that path, you keep macheting through that path, they're going to do that. And we all, if we just keep doing that on our own paths, we all end up at the sun, right? Because it's like a circle. It's not a square, it's like a circle. What is that? Chuck and Larry? I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. Which is Adam Sandler and Kevin, is it Smith? Anyway, I don't know what Kevin is, but Adam Sandler's a Virgo. So there is that mutable energy again. I now pronounce you. And there's that union. It's a circle. It's not a square. There are no sides. There are no conditions. Time is spherical, right? The universe is spherical. And don't come at me, flat earthers. I don't care how you view it. It's all spherical, right? And love is that way as well. There are no sides. There's no box. It's all. It moves. It all expands and contracts simultaneously because it's a mirror. And so if you're sending out concerns and thoughts of this is the end, my only friend, the end. See a Capricorn? I don't know, but I know that Val Kilmer is a Capricorn, and he starred in The Doors, Jim Morrison. So anyway, the doorway moving forward. If you are, and that is also a theme in the movie Deliver Us from Evil, and with Eric Bana, and there's all about the military. Maybe there's military involved, but there's possession, and it's like that, the spiritual warfare that is going on constantly, and then there's the the literal aspect of there being soldiers coming back from war, and so yeah, I mean that's specific, but maybe you were in the service, maybe a person was in the service, maybe there is some, and that could be some of the attachment, there could be like the trauma or the PTSD, that could be something, and maybe they were told that their 5D reality or their dreams, or that they were crazy, and so maybe they were medicated, maybe they were diagnosed with things, and so there are like these self-limiting beliefs that this person seems to have, because they have to come to a place where they realize that all of these boxes that they were put into were actually spheres and circles, right? So it's like when you make that it's a decision to believe in something non-traditional, right? To break from tradition if they were raised in a hyper-religious home, maybe they were raised in a military home, so maybe they're just raised in a very, or you could be raised in a very structured, boxed-in home, where you were labeled, you were this, you were that, and so there is that kind of like they have to kind of like suck the venom out from their childhood, and yeah, so maybe some abuse growing up. Could be sexual abuse involved. I was just watching Stoker, where there is like sexual abuse with an uncle. But anyway, I digress. We're gonna clear that. But it's like they're coming from a place of being told that all this imagination that they had was made them crazy, and so now it's like they have to flip the script and re-empower themselves out of these conditions into saying, oh, actually, I'm not crazy for the dreams I had. I could speak to the astral world, and so if they were medicated, or if they self-medicated through substance, through maybe they were hypersexualized with themselves or with others, I mean, like a porn addiction, or they could have been, in a lot of casual relationships, or even longer term connections, but there was still intimacy lacking, right? So there was like a very a deceptive energy to their sacral chakra, right? So their creative energy has been stunted for a long time. So yeah, when somebody has a breakout of that, it can be quite terrifying, right? So even though it's like they're breaking the familiar, and even though the familiar is more comfortable because it's what we know, when you break a cycle, it's pretty terrifying. Come out of that. We have the Knight of Swords and Queen of Swords, right? And Judgment. So the feminine does feel kind of, and again, that's that sense of, am I cut out for this? Am I cut out for this person's stuff, right? Now, if that's what you've been attracting, if that's a cycle that you've been attracting as the feminine, usually the Queen of Swords has one hand open and one sword. This one has two swords. So it's kind of like, this is a very closed off feminine energy, right? And so if that's what you're calling in, if you're manifesting with fear, you're going to attract more fear, or things that confirm your fears and prove you right, because we like to be proven right as people, right? We like to know what we're talking about. And so maybe picking signs, speaking affirmations, and things that that draw in more confirmations, positive confirmations, right? Healthy confirmations for this new reality that you're trying to create. But if you are feeling like, I can't handle somebody, maybe you got out of something that was very toxic, that was a trauma bond, and so you are like, I can't do that again. And maybe you could be thinking in labels and in boxes, because if maybe your ex and your next are the same sign, or have the same name, or have something similar, maybe they come from the same culture, their same ethnicity, or there's just some sort of similarity there, you might be like, oh, I can't do that again, because that was so traumatic in the past, right? But with the twin flame journey, right, your person is not always one distinct person, right? It moves through from your parents to siblings, cousins, friends, family, all of that, work colleagues, and then all your lovers, right? You'll see these repeating patterns to confirm that you're on the right path. So, maybe there was something that you were attracted to about that person because they were closer to the type of energy that you came into this incarnation destined to be with, right? That you decided, okay, this is my person. You were both incarnated from the same star, right? From the same matter. Like, we all are stars, but we're all stardust, baby. But it's like you and this person, you are made up of more similar energy than you are to the rest of the collective. And so it's like two pieces of the same dust. And so there are going to be things that are close to that person along this journey, along this divine path, that are similar, but they're going to be a lower vibration. They're going to be a lower version of that, of your person, because that's how you can mirror those shadow aspects in yourself, and you can raise your vibration and your frequency to meet your person, right? So it's not about, oh, I met this person, we were together, yes, they were this sign, they're my twin flame, the end. And a lot of us will get stuck on that with this snake here. Like, we will get stuck on the idea and the potential of an individual in the 3D, but the twin flame and the divine union are of the 5D. They're so far beyond anything that is physical or tangible that it's so limiting to assume that one person, because you had 90% chemistry with this person, that you're just going to hold out for that person. Not to mention, there's a lot of pressure to put on that person, and it's actually very conditional love to isolate a physical individual and say, you must be my person. Like, that's not their responsibility, right? So, and it's also your inability to release that lower vibration of yourself and to say good night, and to truly relinquish it. It's like, it's playing the silent treatment versus no contact, right? When you've decided this person is not for me, this situation is not for me, close but no cigar. There were things about it that I saw that reflected very positive and joy. They brought joy to me in this aspect, in this aspect, in this aspect. But if you're saying, I love you, but I love you except for this or that, that's a condition. You're putting a condition on love, and love is spherical. It's unconditional. There are no sides. It's completely pure. So if you're making a pros and cons list, if you're indecisive, if you're in and out, you're not doing a service to you or the person that you're in that dynamic with. That's very toxic. That's very unhealthy. That's a shadow, and that allows demonic energy in, right? When you're manifesting, because you're going to manifest more and more of that. And in this spiritual warfare that we are in, always in, we are pawns in this spiritual warfare. It's like you are going to be expounding and expanding that space, because you're holding that space by putting energy into it. So you're fueling it. So you're actually fueling demonic energy versus divine energy. Long rant there, but yeah, it's like you have a judgment to make here, but it's like you're guarded to either side of it. You're not actually open to see, which comes from a place of insecurity. It comes from a place of, I don't know that I've actually done the work, not believing that you've done enough work, or that you've raised your frequency, that you can trust your intuition. And that could be that spiraling high priestess energy where you're like, and I literally burned this high priestess, with some sage, and which is ironic. but yeah, it's like, see how guarded she is as the high priestess. High priestess doesn't need to be guarded because she has tapped into her intuition. She trusts her intuition. But these cards show a very guarded and shadowy aspect of the major arcana for some reason. So that we can talk about it, I guess. Yeah, Judgment there. Anyway, I was gonna go somewhere with that, I think. It's so hot. Okay. So we have the Knight of Swords coming into, the Queen of Swords is looking this way. The Queen of Swords is this very guarded energy. It's a feminine in her masculine. And she's facing Judgment. Judgment also gives me the Tower, right? So it's like, you said you wanted, when you signed up for this gig, you said you wanted a divine union. You said you wanted to be a cycle breaker. Here it is. You can be guarded all you want. You can be reluctant. You can be terrified. You can not move out of your own way. But if you read the fine print and you sign the dotted line, the Tower is going to come in. The universe is going to sort it out for you, which is very uncomfortable. So there is that path, or you can take one of those swords out of this queen's hand and use it to be direct with your communication. Communication with self, communication with others. Swords are about communication and thoughts. Also, channeling your breath work, right? So if you're feeling overheated, you can cool yourself down physically through breath work. If you're feeling overstimulated in the mind, right? You have too much mind going on. The Last Samurai. Again, more Cancerian energy with Tom Cruise. But when he's fighting, he's all over the place. He's the tiger, right? And he's the white tiger. So it's bringing yourself into a cooler place. You can still have that passion. You can still, be that Leo, be that sun, right? But the High Priestess is ruled by the moon. She's connected with the moon. So this is you sort of cooling it down, coming into a place of really tapping into the feminine. So the masculine needs to do this because if he's all erratic and the masculine is sort of just directing this highly heated energy all over the place with no divine decision, which is toward the frequency of his divine counterpart, the Empress, who's kind of like waiting here, like, where you at, boo? Then he can, have a heat stroke, overheat. And so remember, with the Leo energy, there's that modality is there to supplement and to aid us and complement our primary element. So that fixed earth energy is really there to help keep that fire grounded, right? Which is like, it's not here, but it's like the Four of Swords, right? If you have too much going on in your mind, focus those thoughts, come into meditation, do some box breathing, right? You can break out of the box by regulating yourself through breath work, right? I use box breathing because it helps me sync up my my thoughts and my breath, my swords energy with my heart energy, right? So instead of counting like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, I just count heartbeats. And so after a few box rounds, my heart will be like, the 8 seconds will be really fast, and then it'll be really slow, and then it'll be really, really fast, and then it'll be, so when I get to a place where the 8 heartbeats, or 4 or 5, or whatever number you choose, I like the number 8. That helps you to, which is the number for Leo. Also, Lionsgate 8/8 is for manifesting, but that is the magician and strength,
both have the infinity symbol. Maybe you have the infinity symbol on you somewhere, but that's all about breaking the cycle. So you can tap into a 3D cycle to break a 5D cycle, right? To break an energetic, karmic, familial, ancestral cycle, if that makes sense. So we have the 8 of Wands here, and that's kind of in that aspect, right? That's you're macheting your way through the path. You're making something that's brand new. What you're doing is nobody before you has done this. That's why you're here, is to break this cycle, because no one else before you has gotten it. Maybe each generation has gotten a little bit closer, right? And then the genetic and astrological alignment happens to create perfect little you, right? And that's your curse and your blessing, however you want to look at it. It just is what it is. That's why you're here, is to mow it down, to level that out, to level the overheated. Maybe have fire parents as well. Mine are Aries and Leo. So like maybe you got a genetic code from some cardinal signs, maybe air signs, right? So you've got like a lot of masculine energy around you and elementally. So as the magician and an elementalist, you're supposed to balance. That's the purpose. And the challenge of the magician is to balance all 4 elements. And so if you get too much fire going on, too many swords going on, what happens when you have a lot of swords and a lot of fire? You're going to just burn your whole divine forest down. And that's one way to find the sun, but that's more like a star death, right? That's more like all-consuming versus, just like a direct path to the sun. I'm thinking like Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. She's with her flamethrower or whatever. So this is you channeling the passions and making a direct path through all the heat, all the frustrations. There's some Libra energy here. We've got the crow or the raven coming in with a letter. I can't see what's on the letter. I don't know that it actually says anything. It's like swirly squiggles. But the raven is the Native American zodiac for Libra. So yeah, could have a Libra parent, could be dealing with a Libra. Queen of Swords, justice, right? With the Queen of Swords and judgment, I do get justice. This is about karmic cycles and balance, in all things balance. The 4 of Cups, yeah, this is feeling, unsatisfied, dissatisfied with your love life, with things, your work life, your home life. You're just feeling emotionally unfulfilled, right? But this is also, and maybe you're the one, right? Somebody here is connected to family, but there's blood. It's maybe wine, but it looks more like blood. And this Queen of Swords has blood on there. So with that attachment, there could be a family member that is the reason you and or your person are stuck and not moving forward and not coming in, right? Is because there is that attachment to family, and the Queen of Swords cuts all that shit out, right? And it's going to be difficult, right? Like, look at her, she's crying. She's got the moon there, like she's gonna have to do it, and that takes an intense amount of judgment. It's a very heavy, burdensome choice to relinquish family members, loved ones, right? But if you were conditionally loved, it's going to be very difficult to love yourself or your divine counterparts unconditionally if you are still attached to those who remind you of your boxed and conditional worth. Because we can say, oh, I can love them unconditionally. I can, it sucks. I hate being around my family. I feel like shit. I have to sleep for 3 days afterward, right? Maybe we're overstimulated and depressed or anxious or angry. That could be all that fire. Maybe just feeling very angry and frustrated and just not feeling compatible energetically or aligned with them. But then people will still go back, and maybe that's that Christmas energy. It's like that's very much the holidays and family time. But maybe you're going to start celebrating Christmas in July, and you're going to break the traditions of the Hierophant, and you're going to break the traditions, the conditional traditions of your ancestral and genetic code, so that you're able to attract somebody who is also unconditional. You're not obligated to give energy to anybody else, blood or not, right? That is a condition. If you don't really love your family, you don't like your family, you don't like somebody, but you stay with them out of obligation, you stay around them, you give them energy, you take care of them, you lower your frequency and you disrupt your balance and you interrupt your path and your ability to move forward for yourself. If you do that for somebody else that you're like, well, I don't really like them or get along with them, but they're my family, but they're blood, but they're my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, they're my childhood friend, right? I don't really love my romantic partner, but we've been together this long, but we have children together, right? Anytime you put a but behind love, that's conditional. So you're actually being conditional with other people by only loving them from obligation of blood or time, right? If time is the only reason because because it's something that's always been done, well, you don't break cycles that way. You don't break cycles by doing what you've always done. You break cycles by doing something no one has done. All right? I feel like I had to get very stern there for a minute. So yeah, this is relinquishing that. And Three of Cups is about celebration, right? So it's, yeah, you might be feeling kind of heartbroken and you may have to grieve this. I mean, you're going to have to grieve it, whether the person that you're cutting out is alive or deceased. You are essentially putting them to rest, right? And you are making the decision to move forward as if they no longer live in your reality. So it is a sort of death. It's definitely a spiritual and energetic death. So there is a lot of grief involved in that. So you need to allow yourself to feel that way. But only when you do that can you actually launch off and move forward into a new destiny, into your path, right? That's the only way that you can go there, because that's the only cup that's blocking you. So this is kind of Five of Cups energy here, right? Crying over the spilt milk, kind of thing, or the spilt cups. But remember, you have 3 cups there. You have a reason to celebrate right behind you. So once you move that cup out of the way, those 3 cups are going to take front and center. They're going to come center stage, and they're going to be the half of the 6, right? It's like, see these 2 people? And they've got 3 cups and 3 cups. It's like you and your person, if you come into self-love, you're only going to mirror that from the outside. So if you come into loving your own Holy Trinity, me, myself, and I, body, mind, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? Whatever you view, whatever you call a Holy Trinity. When you love that, when you give yourself 3 of Cups, then you're going to be on the frequency of those who also do that and are not attached, right? And then it's like, this just goes away, right? The snake goes away. Could be dealing with a Scorpio. Or an Aquarius as well with all these swords, and that is your polarity sign, right? So maybe you're dealing with another fixed sign, you're dealing with your polarity. Either way, you're dealing with your polarity energetically. If you're the divine feminine, you're dealing with the divine masculine. If you're divine masculine, you're dealing with the divine feminine, right? So there's a polarity aspect in mirroring and manifesting regardless. This is not very comfortable sitting on the floor, but the Page of Swords. Yes, somebody is watching you, or you're watching your person. Again, I get cross-watcher energy, but somebody is watching. The Page of Swords here is watching their counterpart in the 5D. It's like you could be feeling this, and again, not even see a person in physical form that you are considering your divine counterpart, but they see you. Somebody sees, and see the divine feminine usually feels it in the 5D, and then the masculine is usually the first one to locate the feminine in the 3D and go, that's my person, right? And then they have to come together and meet on a frequency that shares both of those, which is Hierophant energy. It is that marriage of the 3D and the 5D. It's balancing the ethereal, the celestial with the terrestrial. So somebody is watching their person go through this, or feeling their person go through this. So you could be feeling this way, and because you don't see your person, you could be feeling like, why do I feel so irritable? Why do I feel so sad? Maybe you're breaking into tears. Maybe you're feeling really depressed for no reason. There is a reason. It's because you're linked to your person. So they're going through this. So whenever you feel something that doesn't feel like yours, as an empath, cycle breakers are empaths. They feel everything, and and that is the greatest challenge, is because there is, with empaths, right, you're very sensitive to others, and you can see all sides, right? You can see and feel everything. And so it makes you more compassionate. Empaths are compassionate. It makes you so compassionate to the point that you can fall for the potential of others. You're not obligated to fall for anybody else's potential but your own, right? That's the only one. You are obligated to fall for your own potential, right? Because your potential is the only one that you have control over, all right? So when you are falling for potential of others, that's that whole if, ands, or buts. It's putting the ellipsis on love. It's loving others loving others conditionally, because you're saying you're almost good enough. Like, almost good enough for who? It's kind of a self-righteous place to be. And that is the sort of tricky balance and line between empath and narcissist, is that is being unconditional, is having compassion, but not necessarily giving energy, right? Which, you ever notice that people are always regarded as being they're always glorified posthumously, right? At the funerals or the wakes, people are always like, oh, they were so great, they were this, they were amazing, they were a good father. And it's like, there's always somebody sitting in the back going, none of this shit is true. But that's just how people are, because they want to absolve themselves of any guilt for having felt maybe any resentment towards that person, because now they're gone and they can't fix it. So it's just easier for us to say, oh, I always loved them, they were always my hero or whatever, even though you may have never talked, or maybe you couldn't stand them, right? And so when you do this, when you sort of lay energy to rest, you're allowing yourself to love them unconditionally. People think that this is very cold and very conditional, to set up boundaries and standards and to disconnect and withdraw. their energy. Sometimes that's the only way that you can love someone unconditionally, because you've laid them to rest. So now you can just take all the stuff that you actually love about them, no ellipsis included. You're just, I loved them, and you can remember all the good memories, right? Because now they're not interfering with your process anymore. Whenever you allow them into your process, their energy, their vampiric energy, takes from yours, and there's resentment there. There's anger there. There's frustrations, there's hurt, all of that comes up. But when you just allow yourself to disconnect and create space between them and you make the decision to move on your path without them having any influence there, then it becomes easier and easier to truly love them unconditionally, and then you can love yourself unconditionally. Okay, so somebody's watching this, they're ready, and it's like, they've got this page of page of pentacles. They could be a page of pentacles or an earth sign, but they have this ace of pentacles here, right? They could be the year of the dragon. You could be the year of the dragon. But we are in the year of the dragon as well. So this could be coming together this year. But it's like maybe they're like, please do it. Throw that cup overboard. Like, release yourself. Release us, love, right? Because you're feeling what the other is feeling. So it's also, it might seem selfish to disconnect from people, but you're actually being selfless, because you're considering, right? If you had children and you have a toxic parent, you wouldn't let that parent come around, especially if you have a creepy uncle. Like, you're not going to let them around your kids, right? And that doesn't feel selfish, and there's not as much guilt involved in that, because you're like, I'm protecting my kids. You're in mama bear mode, you're in papa bear mode. You're not concerned about what other people think. Your only concern is protecting those innocent children, right? Well, your person is like that innocent inner child, and if you are having trouble making decisions to disconnect from past connections, romantic or platonic, familial or not, for just yourself, think about it this way, right? Because you're supposed to view yourself, this journey is about treating yourself as your own best friend, right? And a lot of us have trouble with that, because we were never shown how to be a good friend. We were loved conditionally, so we don't know how to do that sometimes. But if you can externalize your intentions, right? I'm doing this for my person, right? Think your person is your best friend, and you Leos can be very protective, right? But if you're having trouble being protective over yourself and your energy, just imagine that you're doing it for them, and in turn you're doing it for yourself as well, right? It benefits both of you, because you cannot come into a divine union until you both are balanced in your Holy Trinity, until you both are balanced in your masculine and your feminine, until you both are untethered to the past, until you have broken the cycle, right? Otherwise you're going to just remain in the twin flame union. And if you're just waiting, or twin flame connection, and if you are relying on your person to be the reason for you to make this decision in the 3D, if you're like waiting for them to come in so that you can start treating yourself right, so that you can stop entertaining other people, that's codependent, that's toxic, that's a trauma bond, it's not healthy. You need to make the decision for yourself, and if you can't make it for yourself, then make it for them in the 5D, right? So that they can come in the 3D. If you're waiting for them to come into the 3D so that you can make these 5D decisions, then you're doing it backwards, and you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on this person to be your savior. And the only person that can save you is you, right? You don't want to bring any of that conditional resentment into a union, because that's when twin flames come together before they are actually divinely aligned to do so. And then they have to break away, and then there's toxicity, and they can come back together, but they're still, it's like, why put all of that, why muddy the waters, right? Why pollute that space when you could just get it right, get it balanced before you come together, so it can be pure when you come together.
It's a lot of information.
Knight of Wands and Three of Wands. Okay, so yeah, they're attached. There's that uterine attachment, right? That womb attachment. Someone could be attached to their mother. And there's like this moon is glowing over here, right? And the moon represents lack of clarity, confusion. And then the devil just came out. So, like I'm reading to a class. The Giving Tree. Yeah, there's let it go, let it go. I get a lot of like childish energy here. You and this person are going to be, you're going to be able to fuel that inner child that was called crazy, that was put in a box, that was not actually loved by their own love language, right? They were loved in a not balanced way. Again, I feel if we did a conditional and unconditional count, there'd probably be a lot, but that is what I'm getting here. This is moving out of Six of Swords. It's taking those swords and see, now you're loving your person and this creation, whether that's a literal child or whether that is a creative process, a space that you guys are going to create healing from and help others to heal, right? This is your calling, right? This is your divine calling. This is why you guys have decided in the celestial to come together in the terrestrial, is for this purpose here. So this masculine is coming in to take the feminine and but if you are the feminine that's having trouble, they're not going to come into the house and like drag you out. You have to meet them at the dock, right? Meet me at the dock, and then they'll come and pick you up. Like the masculine can come in with this Knight of Wands. They can come in and swoop you up, but they can't do the work for you. You can't require that from somebody else. That's really unfair to do that. You have to do the work yourself. You have to make that decision and find that strength within, right? If you are the feminine and you are cross-watching for a Leo, tap into that Leo energy, tap into that solar plexus, inspire your heart space to really follow your heart, go with your gut here, and do what is right for you, your person, and this imaginary child, right? If you don't actually have a child together in the 3D, imagine that child and do make the move for them. If you're having trouble doing it for yourself, make the move for them and for the generations to come. That's what the cycle breaking is. You're saying, I'm not doing any of this. And there's that 6 again. There's that turning all those swords into a 6. That is something that moves forward. Okay. That was a very long reading. It felt very, very heavy. But King of Swords. Yep, there he is, waiting on the feminine. Queen of Wands. Yeah, so maybe you're a Leo, you're dealing with an air sign, you're dealing with someone who is more decisive, right? The masculine is in their masculine energy and they're decisive. So this is calling the feminine to come forth and make that decision. And it's also calling the masculine into a place of being more grounded and focusing all of that masculine energy on this divine path, right? You guys got to match frequencies. So, we all have the same ingredients, different recipes. So we all have masculine and feminine. It's about you getting that right recipe that works so that you are on a similar frequency, a compatible frequency to come into union with your person. I hope there was something in here for you. And until next time, I wish you well.